Hey everyone, it's Mandy from Creative Matters. Great to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be doing our part 3 of the Wacky Bird Sculptures. So hopefully you've seen the other two parts. If you haven't, we've got part 1 and part 2 on our YouTube channel, or you can also see it on our Facebook page. So today's session is all about designing and painting our beautiful birds. So we started off by constructing these birds, which are kind of like wacky birds, but some of them actually could be quite realistic in the end. So you can see this is quite a wacky made up sort of bird, made out of a recycled bottle, paper, tinfoil, masking tape, and also recycled card. So that's what we did in the first session. In the second session we created the paper mache concept using flour and water for glue, and this one here was done with magazine paper. So that's the great thing about being resourceful. You can find anything you like really that is going to work, any sort of paper substitute. So magazine pages work really well, and also it can mean that you can either paint over the top, or you might like the patterns that you're creating with your different collage techniques. So this is my little parrot who's got a little extra eye that I can paint, and he's been covered in garden kind of pictures from my gardening book. So he's a little bit more realistic, this one. And then this little guy here, I haven't decided what I'm going to call him, but he is definitely a little bit quirky with his funny splayed out feet, and he's got some really interesting looking lumps and bumps, and he's just a little bit unusual. He's quite bird-like, but he's not super realistic, which I kind of like. It just means that I don't have to make it exactly how it's supposed to be. So I've already painted this guy in pink, so I've made up a pink using a warm red and white. Painted him pink, so it's quite a good idea if you want to just decide on the sort of colour scheme that you want for your bird, and then paint one sort of base colour around that colour scheme. So I know that I sort of want to have it pink based, so I've started with the pink, and then I've just let that dry. It's quite nice to be able to do that so that you can then, well, for a start you've got a nice base that you can paint onto, so that all the paint that you put on is coming out really nicely. But also it is quite good for just sort of being able to add your patterns and add your extra details on top of the colour that's already there, rather than trying to sort of colour in all the spaces, paint them in, and then sort of have more difficulty maybe with the edges. So just give your bird one colour all over, or you might decide to make the feet a different colour, and then we can go from there and paint over the top. And you might not end up having much more actual pink showing, or the colour that you've used for your base, but it's just nice to have that first base colour. Okay, so I've done my pink, and now when it comes to the design, you might decide to actually draw up your bird. So draw the bird onto a piece of paper, and then think about the sort of design that you might like. Maybe you could draw stripes on it, or you might like to put different sort of shapes and geometric ideas all over it. You might want to have partly collage, partly painted ideas. You might want to make it really realistic and make beautiful wings with feathers and lots of texture. It's really totally up to you. So also it's kind of up to you on how you like to work. So for me, sometimes I like to draw designs first, but often I like to just kind of think it in my mind, think about what I want, think about the kind of the colours and the shapes and the patterns that I'd like to use, and the kind of feel of the bird, and then I can start without drawing it onto paper. And so that's just me, but I do a lot of thinking. So artists do a lot of thinking, a lot of creative thinking before they start work. So it's really good for you to have a really good think, and if that means jotting down a few notes or jotting down some drawings, that's great too. Alright, so I'm going to think about now, how can I add something that's really interesting to this base colour. So I definitely want to do something with my lumps, and I'm thinking about drawing maybe some sort of bullseye sort of effects. So I could do that by either going over this lump here with one colour of paint, letting that dry, and then going over another circle over the top of that. Sometimes, like I said before, it's easier to do it that way rather than trying to just draw lines around with different colours, because that kind of makes it tricky sometimes. Also, I'm thinking about doing some collage onto mine, so I really like the idea of adding circles, because I've already kind of got this circle idea happening with these lumps. So I'm going to kind of extend that idea really by adding more circles. And I love the idea of using circles cut out from magazines because they've already got really interesting patterns. So I've thought about my colour scheme around sort of the pink idea. I'm also thinking about the extra colours that I'm adding. So I want the extra colours to be quite dark and sort of blacky, but I've looked for things on my magazine sheets, on my pages, that have a little bit of pattern and texture. And the way I've done that, I'll just show you quickly, is just to find something around the house that's round. And I also had a handle, and just draw around these onto your piece of paper like this, drawing around, using it like a stencil, and then just cutting out over the pencil line so that you've got a perfect little circle, but like I said, adding some really nice pattern that you found from the magazine. That one's got a little bit of gold in it, which will be good. So I've got my 3 little extra pieces. What you could do is add those first, or you can add them later, it's really up to you. So I'm just going to use glue stick at the moment. You might like to use the flour and the water glue that you might have left over, or you might have some PVA or some other sort of glue, doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to really look carefully at my sculpture to decide where I should put it. So like I said, artists do a lot of creative thinking and decision making. So we don't want to just kind of slap it all on. We want to take our time and really kind of look at where the best spot would be for it. So I could put it down here, I could put it over there, I'm going to put it right here. So that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And then I'll glue up my other piece. And again, just have a little think about where it might be nice. I quite like the idea of having 2 quite close to each other. So I might put this one in here. There's a nice little spot for that, just underneath that other lump. Got glue on my fingers. It's come off like that. It's looking kind of cool, isn't it? And then I've got one more. And, oh, that one's not sticking very well. And I have to think about where I want my other one. And I think another one around the bottom. So I might end up wanting to add a few more actually around there. I quite like that. If they're not sticking very well, you can always come back later and make some more flour and water glue. That's always good. It's up to you. And you can see that with that flour and water glue, it's a really nice surface that it's created. It's not too floury, and it has stuck the paper down really nicely. Alright, so then you need to think about the other colours that you want to add. So I think I need, got my pink here. I think that I might just add a little bit more red to make a slightly darker pink, so it's a warm red with white. And then I'm just going to add a tiny, tiny pinpoint of black, just to make it very slightly darker, or you could use blue. So literally just a pinpoint on your brush, tiny, tiny. And it just gives you a sort of darker shade of that pink colour. So I'm going to do that for my feet, just a little bit darker, and paint that on. By the way, everyone, while I'm painting, I just want to say thank you so much to all the people who have subscribed to our YouTube channel. We only started it really last week, and already we've got lots of followers, which is really exciting. Good thing about subscribing to that channel is that you can get a notification if you touch the bell. If you click on the bell, you'll get a notification every time we have a new video up. So you might be watching our videos live on Facebook, or if you're watching them on YouTube, then that's probably the best time, but the best place in a way, because you can come back anytime you like. Right, so I've just done a slightly darker pink, and then I'm going to come back to that and add some patterns. Okay, now if you're going to do the things like the lumps, you could do just one coat to start with, as I said, making a nice tidy edge around your circle. And then just leave that to dry, so that then you can come back with your other colours on top. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, do you get the idea? I hope you do. And then this one here, you can see that I've done already an undercoat of white on that eye. Let it dry, and just going to come back to it now. See, if I wanted to add a pupil or a little black bit on the eye when it was still wet, then it picks up a lot of that white paint, so it might not get the effect you want. So now I can just add my pupil like that. And then if I wanted to, I could do another black line just around the edge. And actually my white is still a little bit wet, so I'm just going to let that dry for a bit longer, and then I'll add to that eye. So just putting in that white, that black pupil there just adds to it, doesn't it? It makes it feel much more like an eye, rather than just the white. You could do crazy eyelashes on top if you wanted to. For this one here, you might like to paint on your features, so you could draw on wings and draw on sort of bird feather type shapes. Or you could add on another type of collage on top to make your features. It's totally up to you. Alright, so I'm going to leave it at that today. It's not very much instruction from me. You guys can just go ahead and create all your amazing ideas onto your beautiful bird. I can't wait to see what you've created. Please, please, please send me photos. You can do that through Facebook comments underneath the video, or you can just email me if you like the photos. So I'd love to see it. We have started the website gallery on our website, so there's some beautiful examples of what children have been making. So check that out on creativematters.co.nz, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday. Thanks for joining us. Bye.